Comedy Film Nerds Podcast.
I like
let's talk about the Post.
The Post. All right, so now we're back in, it's obviously all these Oscar movies are going wide. So I saw this, and it's interesting. We talk about the trailers a lot, right? So
This is not about the cereal.
No.
Post.
no, it is.
Cereal.
The Post cereal
got it.
was used to uncover Vietnam.
Yeah, right.
So what happened? So the movie focuses on obviously not Watergate. This is the before Watergate. This is the first thing that sort of broke open the Washington Post. The Washington Post was considered late 60s, early 70s was a sort of a small town paper.
Well, one of the trivia because you mentioned that is the last scene of the Post is actually the opening credit scene in All the President's Men.
Ooh.
So it's almost like a
Nice.
prequel that goes into the Watergate scandal.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow. So yeah, it's so that's what they did obviously to show that is this is what put the Washington Post on the map. They were in the shadow, and there's a lot of stuff with regards to the New York Times is this big paper, obviously, back then as it is today, and the Post was they literally called it a small town paper. Like that's what it was, just a DC paper, it just talked
Right.
about DC stuff. And the trailer is all about showing Meryl Streep fighting through the boys club and all this stuff like that.
And that seemed to be, what the focus of the film was going to be.
No. It's
did we get bait and switched by the trailer
we
again?
did get bait and switched by the trailer.
Oh.
That's part of it, but that's more towards it's in there, but really it's about the ethical issue of Meryl Streep's character, Kay Graham, is good friends with Robert McNamara. In real life, they were really good friends with Robert McNamara.
Yeah.
And he's like being friends with her. There's this whole ethical, of if you're hanging out, if you're you run a paper and you're hanging out with Robert McNamara, who's involved with the Vietnam War and what these papers uncovered was that the politicians have been lying about Vietnam since Eisenhower.
Right.
So it was like Truman, then Eisenhower, then Kennedy, then they've all lied about it, and that's what these papers uncovered.
Okay.
And then Nixon was sort of the worst version of it, but everyone was like, all Nixon is doing is keeping this thing going that all these other presidents have been doing.
Right.
Does that sound familiar?
Nope.
Are we living that right now today? No. Just the worst version of what everyone else has been doing? No. Goldman Sachs hasn't been in every cabinet since Reagan. Anyway. So it's like, it's really showing, it's bringing that up. And it's really about that. And Tom Hanks is playing Ben Bradley. These are real people. And there's a couple of really great scenes where he's like, you're still, you're having Robert McNamara over for dinner. You think he's confiding in you because you're friends? No, he wants you to give him a good, because the New York Times
Good
breaks.
press.
Yeah, wants you to give him good press. And she goes, oh, well, I guess all those times you were boating with Jack Kennedy, and she calls him out because he was buddies with Kennedy. So it's really just this wow.
Yeah.
Who's in bed with who?
Who's in bed with who, and how can and it's all about the free press because the Nixon administration was trying to they sued the New York Times and got the Supreme Court to block them from doing this. So the Washington Post was like, well, they had to go to the Supreme Court to allow to publish these stories. So it's really the first two acts of the movie are that.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
It's the end where she finally goes, okay, I got to, because she's just sort of, you see her in the beginning sort of, it was her dad's paper. And when he gave the paper to her husband, and there's a really cool, there is a good scene in there where she's talking to her daughter and she's like, honey, I just thought that was what's best because I didn't know. She came up in this traditional,
Right.
I'm the wife. She goes, I've never run anything. I've never everything's been, she's this obviously pampered blue blood rich lady, who's just had everything taken care of, and so that's what you do. The man
Did Meryl Streep play that believably?
a privileged white lady? Yeah, she actually did carry that pretty well. When was the last time Meryl Streep struggled to pay her bills? Anyway,
That was a stretch for her.
it was a
She
stretch.
step outside her comfort
Yeah.
zone.
So,
Brave.
and it does address that, like, that era. It's all white guys running everything, and she's the first woman, but the whole movie's white people, and then they do that thing that Hollywood loves to do of, hey, black extra, a lot of black extras in every scene just to show, hey, we're diverse, so there's that. There's really good acting scenes in here and stuff like this, but then I just felt like Spielberg. He does this thing with it got in the way for me personally of these high angle looking down at people or low angle looking up.
Right.
Like he's all about who's in charge. And so I'm like, I got it.
Dutch angled it.
He does.
Wow.
It's not crooked. It's just like, it's the person's.
It's obviously from above and obviously
I
from
gotcha.
below.
Yes.
When there's when you're looking up at someone, that's the guy in charge. He's big, and if you're up here, then it's like this is a lower.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's so prevalent throughout the whole film. I was like,
Well, he doesn't want you to miss anything.
And they're super wide.
Yeah.
So you get everything. So the people are like that tiny in it.
he keeps doing it, and then Bob Odenkirk is doing kind of a peculiar accent. I mean, they're all playing actual people. Bob Odenkirk.
Oh, nice. Okay.
David Cross is in it.
Oh, wow.
So they're playing actual people. Tom Hanks is doing Ben Bradley, and he's good. He's Tom Hanks. He's
He's a newspaper man.
but he's doing that.
What
Like
do
the
you
one
think
from-
it is we do here, kid?
Yeah.
Like the one from Superman, the original.
Yeah, really, it gets a little bit.
There's a cigar always in his mouth.
Look, kid, we gotta print it.
He's got that fedora just says pressed on it at all times. Mash, eh? Who's doing that with some gangster accent for no reason? I like it.
So it's a little bit like I felt almost like he was. At times, it took me out because I go, is he doing an impression of the? I'm blanking on the actor's name from All the President's Men that played Ben Bradley. The actor. All the President's Men. All right, that's with Robert Redford and that.
Dustin Hoffman.
No.
Well, yeah. I'm just saying they were the stars.
Yes,
He's in it.
Yeah, who played? Oh God, he's a classic actor. Jason Robards plays Ben Bradley, right? So at times I felt like Tom Hanks was doing a Jason Robards
Impression?
Oh, that's interesting.
and
Is it close?
it's decent. Yeah, I mean, look, he's a good.
I mean, Tom Hanks is good.
They're really good. They're really good actors, but there were times when I just felt like.
I'd like to see all three of them next to each other talking, saying the same line, and see who does it better. Butch Bradley, is that his name?
Butch Bradley.
Ben Bradley?
Ben Bradley.
Yeah.
Butch Bradley, the stand-up comic from Tucson. Yeah, it's Butch Bradley. It's Butch Bradley that I started with at last.
That's what I was thinking the whole time. I know Butch Bradley's in this. I didn't know he worked for the Post.
Yeah, who
Wow,
knew?
he's been around a long time.
I know. He's like
He looks
90.
young.
He did. When I started open mics with him, I guess he was 70 at the time.
Yeah.
So it's some of that, like, and when you know these historical characters, and when you know this iconic movie like All the President's Men, which was all about the Watergate stuff.
Yes.
So I felt to me like it was a little too much, and Spielberg has a habit of doing this sometimes of, all right, Oscar movie, big moment, big sound swell, big soundtrack, big
Right.
angles,
Yeah.
big, I'm going to make it,
zoom in real quick.
push in,
Yeah.
big line, we're going to,
Yeah.
So it just, at times, I was engaged, and at times
He was forcing it.
I was forcing it a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the whole, the whole sort of mislead of the trailer.
Okay.
But it's interesting.
The old bait and switch trailer move.
a little bait and switch trailer move. But it's interesting. There's really interesting one-off scenes in it. Is this the best picture of the year? No. Everyone, these are all very skilled actors. They all did a really good job with it. But
it didn't do nearly as well with the Golden Globes as
Right.
people expected it to.
And I think this is why I understand why now, because I literally watched it last night. I'm like, oh, and I remember when I saw the trailer, I was like, God, this just feels a little too much like this is it. This is
it
Oscar bait.
Is it too long?
a little bit.
Yeah.
Nah, maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Okay.
Not like a half hour too long, but
Sounds like an Oscar bait backfire.
a little bit. Little Oscar
Hashtag
Oscar bait back.
Oscar. It's also good bacon.
Yeah.
It's very spicy.
So yeah, I mean, it's worth seeing, but is it a front runner for any of the categories? Not for me, at least.
Okay.
Not for me.
All right, fair enough.
I'll check it out.
You'll get the screener. If you haven't.
I think I might have it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I do. I got a lot of them still. I got to go through.
It's weird. Some of the screeners I'm getting from SAG are like,
There's a lot of Netflix stuff.
I'm like,
I already have Netflix.
I have
I'm gonna get
Netflix.
this anyway.
Well,
Why do I-
Netflix is probably paying a fortune. Just send it to everyone.
Yeah, but I mean, you're wasting money giving me this DVD. Now I got to go. I guess I watch it on my laptop. I guess.
yeah.
I barely even use my DVD player.
I think what Netflix should do, and they did this, I got one envelope that was just like postcards, really nice postcards
Yeah.
of all the Netflix shows. Oh, reminding me
Right.
that was great. But then I don't need a box set of shows that I can
Right.
stream on my TV with an
Yeah.
outdated platform that I don't barely use.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
peculiar.
I'm gonna go dust off my PS3
Yeah,
so I
it's
can
just
watch
like,
this.